Furniture, East Peoria.
He chokes people.
He's rude.
They can't sing.
He's loud.
He's rude.
Definitely not a singer.
He's ugly.
Way to go, Joe. That is just superb. That's Joe. Let's get a shot of Joe. We want to show Joe, but to show the whole control room. Can we do this real quick? Come on, come on, come on. There he is. There's Joe. There's the guy that's doing all that. Well, here we are back at Rush Limbaugh, the TV show, for another day in what seems like an interminable number of days of the raw deal. The Clinton presidency, the sham that it is. Here we are in the decade of deceit, the decade of fraud, as authored by President Clinton and the rest of his liberal Democratic henchmen that you'll find in Washington, D.C. You see, people see this. Can you get a close-up shot of this? Come on in. Oh, okay, you shot it. There it is. You see what this is? I went to the doctor the other day. So funny. Actually, I share a doctor with Molly Yard. And this somehow had been used in a recent procedure. And it's rather large syringe, when you say. And as you pull it out of its protective covering, my friends, look what's inside. It's a Pepsi can. Product tampering, my friends. My doctor injected Molly Yard with Pepsi. Somebody sent that in. It's fun. Hey, you know, yesterday's show or last night's show or today's, depending on when you saw it, because it airs it so many times, is probably a show that has received more positive response than any of the shows that we have done this season, and there's a very good reason for it. We have presented you news that the dominant media culture ought to be showing you every day. We offered a critical analysis of President Clinton and the Democratic Party's budget plan for 1993-94 that you're not seeing anywhere else. It's available. Anybody can do what we did, but nobody does. And the reason we're doing it is precisely because we're not part of the same old inside the beltway mentality that most of the dominant media culture happens to be. Today we are going to continue in the same vein as yesterday. What did we do on our recent program? Well, we pointed out how the 1990 Budget Act is simply being redone. The words are the same, the proposals are the same, the means of selling it to the American people are identical to what happened in 1990. And we are aghast and we are appalled and frustrated to no end. And we want to continue this because our crack research staff has continued to put some things together. We got some more stuff tonight that's just going to make you mad. It's going to send a chill up your back. It will aggravate you, and you're going to be frustrated when this show's over, and you're going to be saying, what can we do? We can sit here and talk about it. We can get mad, but what kind of action needs to be taken to stop this? I warn you that's what's going to happen because it happened on our last show. Now, our last show started out with an analysis of the two options the Republican Party had at the outset of the presentation of Bill Clinton's economic plan. The plan doesn't work. It won't work. We demonstrated that on yesterday's show, and history shows us time and time again when you raise people's taxes, you slow down economic growth. It isn't going to work. Republican strategy is get out of the way, let it pass, don't oppose it, so that when it does fail, that the Republicans can avoid blame, because they'll get the blame. Remember, George Bush tried to please Democrats in the 1990 budget deal. He thought that they wanted good government. He thought that they wanted bipartisanship. And then he signs on to the deal, and the minute he signs on to it, they blame him for the last 12 years of failure, and then also accuse him of not keeping his promise never to raise taxes during his administration. Bottom line is, you can't do business with the liberal Democrats in Washington. They don't care about bipartisanship, and they don't care about government. They care about the acquisition of power. They care about expanding their own government, their own jobs, and if that means taking a little power and a little independence from you, then so be it. The second proposal, of course, the Republicans could have done was go ahead and oppose the thing on the grounds that they had to because the American people stand to be hurt, but in so doing, they run the risk of being blamed. Well, there's a column in the New York Times today by Alice Rivlin. Alice Rivlin used to run the Congressional Budget Office some time ago. She's now a ranking budget official in the Clinton administration, and she wrote a column today entitled, "Where is the Old Bob Dole?" I'm going to read the opening paragraph and then a couple of others. I have such a long-standing respect for Senator Bob Dole. I fantasize that the old Bob Dole, the responsible statesman, will weigh back into the budget debate. The old Bob Dole, as Finance Committee chairman, then Majority Leader, and finally Minority Leader, took on two presidents of his own party in 1982, 1985, and 1990 to try to tame the deficit. He got precious little White House support, but kept fighting for saner fiscal policy. Now, finally, we have a president who is leading the fight for fiscal responsibility. Bill Clinton did not have to be urged or cajoled. His first priority was an economic plan to reduce the deficit by $500 billion over 5 years. Let's go back to the first paragraph. These presidents of his own party, there are Reagan and Bush, 1982, 85, and 1990. What happened in those 3 years? In 1982 was the first year of the Reagan tax rate reductions. And 1985, TEFRA, Tax Equity Fiscal Reform Act. It was at the time the largest tax increase in American history, and guess what? Bob Dole helped sponsor it, and Ronald Reagan signed it, Ms. Rivlin. It happened. It wasn't that it didn't happen that caused you the problem. It's the fact that the largest tax increase in the history of the country at the time was signed by a Republican president, Ronald Reagan. And the thing that didn't happen in this bill that was promised was that for every new tax dollar that was generated, there was supposed to be an accompanying $2 reduction in spending. It never happened. The spending cuts never do. 1990 is the now famous budget deal. She's very happy for Bob Dole when he opposes a Republican president. That's what a statesman in the Republican Party is to a Democrat. Somebody opposes his own president. The simple fact of the matter is that they have no reason to beef, because in all 3 of these years, the presidents involved signed tax increases. And those tax increases didn't work then, and they're not going to work now. Let's go back to September 30th of 1990, George Bush once again.
The bipartisan leaders and I have reached agreement on the federal budget. Over 5 years, it would reduce the projected deficit by $500 billion. That is $500 billion.
Back now to Alice Rivlin in her column criticizing Bob Dole. Bill Clinton's first priority was an economic plan to reduce the deficit by $500 billion over 5 years. It's the same old bilge. Pardon me, my friends, Alice Rivlin's column today is exactly what we're getting from every other liberal Democrat in Washington for the past 2.5 years. Liberal vomit. It is Democratic puke. It is being regurgitated over and over again. That's what it is. It's nothing new. It is not change. Bob Dole, Ms. Rivlin, has learned his lesson. He's not going along for these tax increases anymore with Democrats. He's been burned too many times. Welcome to our side, Mr. Dole. Stay the course. Back with the rest of our show after this.
Okay, now I am an optimist who has become very skeptical about fat-free salad dressings. So, naturally, when Healthy Sensation promised great honey Dijon taste, I thought, yeah, right. Just like you're thinking now. But Healthy Sensation has this sweet honey tangy Dijon thing. It's very creamy. It's very good. So try it. All you've got to lose is your cynicism.
Healthy Sensation. Taste and believe. Are you tired of the liberal slant on news today? Now there's a choice. Rush Limbaugh has told you about the Conservative Chronicle, and how each week you'll enjoy credible, intelligent commentary from conservative columnists and cartoonists. You'll read insightful, crisply written opinions from syndicated columnists like George Will, Joseph Sobran, Gene Kirkpatrick, William Buckley, and more. Join the ranks of the truly informed. Subscribe to the Conservative Chronicle and get 52 issues for only $39. Money back guarantee. Call now and subscribe.
Get ready for the sale of the summer at Kaufman Furniture. Right now, get this beautiful sofa, love seat, and recliner for an incredible $5.99. Available only at Kaufman Furniture.
There's something new and exciting happening at Shakey's.
On Sundays at 9 a.m., we've added delicious breakfast items to our full buffet.
We've got scrambled and eggs Benedict, sausage, French toast, corned beef hash, ham, hashed browns, breakfast pizzas, and more.
So join us for breakfast on Sundays at 9 a.m.
These special items are all added to our regular Sunday buffet, and join us during the week for our regular all-you-can-eat lunch and dinner buffet. Don't forget, senior citizens receive a 10% discount, and kids 2 to 12 eat for 40 cents per year at Shakey's.
I'm Peter Jennings, and we're very pleased that WHOI has put ABC's World News Tonight first every evening. At 5:30, we report the day's national and the world news, and then 19 Eyewitness News at 6 reports the news that is important to the heart of Illinois. In other words, I hope you'll join us all weeknights right here beginning at 5:30.
Okay, welcome back. You are watching Rush Limbaugh, the television show, an important show. If you don't have your VCR running yet, turn it on. You'll want to keep this program. And if you don't have a VCR, you can order a videotape copy. At the end of the show, there's a phone number that will flash on the screen to show you how to do it. Let's go back to Friday, March 19th, the New York Times. I want to show you something we've shown a couple times on this program before, but maybe now it'll have a little bit more impact in the context of all of this fraud and deceit that is this economic plan that's nothing more than a rehash of what didn't work 2.5 years ago. Not the last 12 years, but just the last 2.5. What do we hear? We hear that the 1980s were runaway deficits, right? And that we cannot repeat that. What we have to do is get rid of the politics of the last 12 years and move forward courageously, boldly, with change. Well, I'm sorry, but it just, you know, my friends, it's more than I can handle. All right, let's put up, we have I guess, two elements of this chart I want to show you. There is the whole chart. What this is the rise and fall of the deficit in the New York Times. I want to get a close-up here on years 86, 87, 88, and 89. 1986, the 221 number is the deficit figure for that year. Look at 87, deficit plummets to 150 billion. That's called reduction. That's called the deficit getting smaller. When is this happening? The 80s. If you're a liberal Democrat, learn it, love it, live it, and accept it. We're not making it up. Go back to the chart. Go back to the chart. Folks, hang on. I appreciate your applause. We got a lot of stuff to do here. 1988 is 155 billion. We added 5 billion. That's chump change. And 1989, 152 billion. And then 1990 back up to 221. It's the first number below the gray area. Now, I want to do something else on this chart. I have the numbers here because we also hear that these massive tax cuts that Reagan initiated caused the deficits because we didn't generate enough money from people. I have told you time and time again that we lowered tax rates, marginal rates, from 70% in 81 to 28% in 1988 when Reagan left office. Actually, it was 89. We lowered rates from 70 to 28% and doubled revenue. Receipts 1980, 517 billion. Receipts 1989, 991 billion. You won't see it. Well, there's the 1989 figure. The bottom one is 991. It's almost doubled, and deficits fell while we are adding revenue, while we lowered tax rates. Now, let's go to Bill Clinton's own numbers. For his projections, the years 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. $296 billion deficit, $302 billion deficit, $301 billion deficit, $327 billion deficit, and $361. This is deficit reduction. This is courage. This is bold leadership. This is change. This is fraud. This is deceit. This is an insult to our intelligence. that they don't think we can remember 2.5 years ago, or worse, that we won't go back and look 2.5 years to find out what really happened. They know the dominant media culture will not do that. They are willing accomplices with liberal Democrats. But we are going back, and we've shown you, and we're going to keep showing this stuff as long as they keep lying about it. When we come back, more video clips from 1990 and 1992, 93. You be the judge yourself.
Why is Bert divorcing Lonnie? Bert himself gives you the answer exclusively in this week's Inquirer. Plus, what's the truth about other women? Bert tells the whole story and shares his personal family photo album with you.
It's only in this week's Inquirer.
Why did Cheers star Kelsey Grammer's pregnant wife try to kill herself? Is Oprah the victim of a real-life ghost?
I want to know.
What's the best way to beat loneliness? Find out in this week's Inquirer, filled with fascinating features for people with inquiring minds.
Like me.
Cooler than a shag haircut. Easier to wear than poultry. More comfortable than a kick in the head. They're Bark 2s from Bark's Root Beer. Cool, removable body art in 36 different designs. Free! Inside specially marked 12 packs of great tasting Bark's Root Beer. The one with bite. So leave your lederhosen home and make a fashion statement on your arm, on your leg, or on your head with Bark 2s from Bark's Root Beer. The one with Bark 2s.
If you've been thinking about buying a new carpet, the time is right at Columbia Rug.
I got the right color, the right fiber, and the right price.
It's the right sale this week only at Columbia Rug.
I really trust them to give me the right carpet at the right price.
You'll save 30, 40, even 50% on every carpet, tile, vinyl, hardwood floor, and more.
Looks like we came to the right place.
So don't get left out. Come to the right sale at Columbia Rug.
That's right.
A lot of people are saving a lot of time with Jim McComb one-price buying.
And that's it. There's nothing else to do. Just say, yes, you want it.
This week, 1992 Geo Prism 4-doors with air, automatic, and stereo are one priced at only $157.95 a month. And 1992 Cavalier RS 4-doors with air, anti-lock brakes, and automatic are only $169.35 a month.
We made our buy that day. It was that impressive.
Save time and money with no hassle one-price buying only at Jim McComb Chevy Geo.
Move forward, drive forward. By the way, folks, we're not going to finish everything tonight that we intend to. We're just going to pick up with our next show where we end up tonight. So whatever you do, stay right in front of your TV set, because when this show ends, we'll be back in 23 hours and 30 minutes with the rest of the information. Leon Panetta, Office of Management and Budget Director, yesterday. Watch.
I want to establish the same tests, if I could, for whatever Republican alternative might be offered with regards to this deficit reduction effort. The first test is it should achieve $500 billion in deficit reduction in real terms.
Let's go back. George Bush, September 30th, 1990, again.
The bipartisan leaders and I have reached agreement on the federal budget. Over 5 years, it would reduce the projected deficit by $500 billion. $500 billion. $500 billion. $500 billion. $500 billion. $500 billion. That is $500 billion.
You get that, Mr. Panetta? We've already tried it, sir. A Republican president tried it with your plan then, your plan today, same plan as then, didn't work then, isn't going to work now. How do these guys do it? How do they face the cameras every night and say this stuff? What stupid fools they must think we are. Well, we're not, Congressman Panetta. And those who are ignorant and uneducated and pay no attention to this stuff, they watch this show and they're going to learn too. And then pretty soon the whole country is going to be onto this scam, this class warfare that you people are exploiting. The lies and the fraud and the deceit that you use to try to arrange things so that all you're doing is getting more money for you guys to spend. There's no deficit reduction now, and there wasn't any then. We have Barbara Boxer, who may, Well, never mind. I was going to discuss the size of her IQ relative to that of a pencil eraser, but I'm not going to get personal with this. Well, watch this. This is from the Senate Budget Committee negotiations yesterday. Watch this and you'll see what I mean.
So in closing, I think we have three options here, Mr. Chairman. We can stay on the path of the 80s, the raging deficits, lower standards of living, tax giveaways to the richest among us. God, their incomes went up 150%.
They did not.
In the last decade.
It's a lie, Ms. Boxer.
Or we can go with the new Republican idea, which is the permanent recession plan, 200,000 in job loss, an $8 billion reduction in the GDP.
What about... Ms. Boxer, let me tell you something. No, wait, hold it a minute, folks, please. I know you think I'm being rude. This woman, I don't have to respect what she said. None of that's true. The 80s, she wants to call it the lowering standards of living in the 80s, 23 million new jobs, the most robust post-war recovery in the history of the country. She's lying. She's speaking cliches. She doesn't even know what she's saying. It's right out of the Liberal Democratic Party handbook. You talk about lowering standards, then she said tax giveaways to the wealthy? Explain it, Ms. Boxer. Explain to me how there were giveaways when revenues doubled while tax rates lowered. How can you say that the upper 5% paying 50% of all taxes is a tax giveaway to the rich, Ms. Boxer? You can't, and be honest about it. And the permanent recession plan that she talks about is this one. It's a rehash of the one that gave us a recession in 1990. Think, Ms. Boxer, stop speaking in cliches, because now there are people listening. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Here's an opportunity to receive a free copy of National Review's new 40-page report on the real Reagan record.
Hi, I'm Bill Buckley. You may know me through my television show Firing Line, or my newspaper columns, or maybe one of my Blackfoot Oaks spy novels. But you ought to know about my magazine, National Review. A National Review gives you insights into current events and information about important issues from a decidedly different set of priorities.
I like it because it cuts through the nonsense that normally surrounds most political issues with simple, common sense. And of course, I love the humor. It's a very funny magazine.
When you get National Review, you'll find it's informative, probing, challenging, and very entertaining.
You can't find National Review on every newsstand, so this may be your only chance to get a copy.
Call this toll-free number now and we'll send you National Review's 40-page report on the real Reagan record. For a trial subscription, call 1-800-334-1231. That's 1-800-334-1231.
It's only natural. Families grow. Things change. That's why State Farm agents offer family insurance checkups. They help you see to it that your insurance keeps up with your changing family. So keep the family insurance checkup in mind. After all, you'd be surprised how fast things can change.
In Peoria, your State Farm agent is Dean Taylor. In Lewiston, call Gene Zook.
It's Waterbed Creations' 6 months no interest sale going on now. Check out the stylish Denver with bookcase, a low $169.95. Simmons Beauty Rest soft sides, an incredible $599.95. Sit, recline, or sleep on a twin siesta futon, only $149.95. And your choice of a Canton solid wood high-chested dresser, just $179.95. It's 0% interest for 6 months. 0%. So buy right now and rest easy. Waterbed Creations in Peoria, Pekin, Bloomington, and Galesburg.
Car and truck buyers, fasten your seatbelt. It's Car Wars, the demolition derby of high prices. John Pierce and Gary Uppringer meeting head on to save you money. They're smashing prices, crunching interest rates, and pounding payments to new lows.
We're wrecking prices to outsell uptrade.
We're crashing every deal to beat Beard. See the prices demolished on over 1,200 cars, trucks, and vans during Car Wars at John Pierce Ford, Nissan Jeep and Eagle, and Upring Chevy Old Saab Geo.
A chart that will disprove everything Ms. Boxer said. We'll show you the chart on our next show because I have to show you this next. We have two cuts from Jim Sasser. He's chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. We want to play you something that he said yesterday talking about the deficit, because that's how he pronounced it. He's from Tennessee, show you something he said yesterday during Senate Budget Committee negotiations. Senator Sasser.
Now let's bear in mind, while we're being critical of this administration and this president, he didn't create these deficits.
Oh, yeah?
These deficits are the result of 12 years of the most irresponsible fiscal policy in the history of the United States of America.
All right, Senator Sasser, he didn't create the deficits, and I'll grant you that. He didn't create the deficits. The people who agree with him created the deficits. And the deficit, sir, is not the result of 12 years of irresponsibility. It's the result of 2.5 years of irresponsibility, of which you led the charge. Oh, wait. Let's go back and listen to Senator Sasser as he celebrated the signing of the budget deal in 1990. Take a look, read it, and weep. Watch.
At the risk of sounding immodest, we are on the verge of getting the largest deficit reduction package in the history of this republic. Putting that deficit reduction package into law.
Rewind that in there, Chet, because I want to play that again before this program's over. Do you people understand what you just saw? That's him 2.5 years ago taking credit for the plan that didn't work. Now, I don't want to be immodest about this, but watch this again. You won't believe this. It's 2.5 years ago. Take a look again.
At the risk of sounding immodest, we are on the verge of giving the largest deficit reduction package in the history of this republic, putting that deficit reduction package into law.
Senator, that deficit reduction package, it was signed into law. You heard President Bush celebrating it. Senator, did it work? Just one, yes or no? Did it work? If it did, why the hell are you back trying to get us to go for the same mess? Please answer it. If it didn't work, if there wasn't serious deficit reduction, and you were so proud of the thing that was going to fix the deficit 2 years ago, why are you blaming 12 years for it? I thought your fix was supposed to be, if it didn't work, why didn't it work? And if it didn't work, Senator, why? Are we going to have to live through this same malaise and disaster again? People don't want it, Senator, and you can't fool them anymore. Don't go away. More of this on our next show in 23 hours and 30 minutes.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Those for those two newspapers.
This all-surface vehicle goes wherever it wants to. These all-purpose vehicles go wherever you want to. When you're on Goodyear Wrangler GSA all-surface radials with triple traction, you get an area for quiet highway traction, for wet weather traction, and for rugged off-road traction from Goodyear. Wherever you drive, off the road, down the highway, wet or dry, try a set of all-surface Goodyear Wranglers. You'll know why we like to say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
A new chapter has begun in Merrill Lynch's history in Asia. We are the first American securities firm invited to open an office in mainland China. Being there gives our financial consultants a different perspective, which makes a difference for our clients. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
Next time, how summer jobs let teenagers earn while they learn financial responsibility.
Plus, Sleepless in Seattle's Tom Hanks.
On Good Morning America.
You have been listening when I told you how to own a 93 Pontiac Grand Am for just $194 a month, because our business is tremendous. This same car is being advertised at a higher payment, but our Smart Buy payments are lower because our selling price is lower. By law, I must disclose all the facts when I say your payment is just $194 a month. But the disclaimer is longer than this commercial. Just come on in and we'll tell you all the details at Neil Norton Cadillac Pontiac in Peoria.
The place to go to make your lawn and garden grow is Handy Andy. The Suncast Hosemobile is just $19.99. Its sturdy construction holds up to 225 feet of hose. The fold-down handle makes for easy storage, and large wheels give you excellent handling. The Apex Ultra Flexible Garden Hose is handy priced at just $12.88. Its 4-ply construction offers heavy-duty reinforcing, yet all-season flexibility makes it easy to coil. A store full of values and a catalog full of savings make Handy Andy a definite improvement in home improvement.
We recently asked people what they like about the new Pontiac Grand Am.
It's sporty.
Looks like a fun car.
I like the interior. Seats are very comfortable. It's got everything. Standard anti-lock brakes.
And you know what? Brakes are good for safety.
Outstanding.
Then we told them they can own the Grand Am for just $199 a month or get $1,000 cash back.
$199 a month is great. $1,000? Fantastic.
The $199 Grand Am Smart Drive or $1,000 cash back at your local Pontiac dealer.
Joining us now from our New York bureau is Judith Miller, who has reported on the Middle East and terrorism for the New York Times for many years and is now writing a book on the Arabs and Islam. Also joining us from our New York bureau is Newsday criminal justice reporter David Kochanowski. Let me just ask you, Judith, I notice in tomorrow morning's Times, they suggest all of this was due to take place on July 4th of all times.
You know, a very patriotic day.
Yeah, what do you make of it? Well, clearly not isolated because we have two different rings. There do seem to be some overlapping people.
Yes, there would definitely seem to be that, and for the first time we've had Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman brought in a more direct way than he's been brought in before.
What about him? Why do you think, have you ever been able to get to the bottom of how and why he got into the country, how he got his green card?
Well, one thing I can tell you is that he applied and received that invitation to come to the United States from the embassy, American Embassy in Khartoum. And I think it's no accident that he was there because the Sudanese government, which has been described by a senior American official as a humanitarian nightmare, is a militant Islamic government which has given aid and comfort to men like Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman.
David, as I mentioned in the report earlier on, the federal authorities are now beginning to look at Sudan as more or less of a surrogate for the fearful foursome, Iran, Iraq, and Libya, and Syria, in terms of sponsoring terrorism. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Ted, I think the major development today was that the Sudan finally emerged in the middle of this in a large way. In the past, in the World Trade Center investigation, there had been a lot of links back to Afghanistan and the Mujahideen. Since the Sheikh came here from the Sudan, I think that there's a push to try and find out what his links were into Sudan, and today we're starting to see the beginning of that, and the Sheikh moves to the center stage of this investigation.
Tell us what else you have in tomorrow morning's story, in your story tomorrow morning. What else have you been able to learn?
Well, we've learned a bit about the links between Sadiq, and that he goes back to the Nosair case. He was very involved in the Nosair defense, and that, I think when Nosair originally was accused of killing Mark Kahane, there wasn't the sense of urgency that we see now. There were leads in the investigation that weren't necessarily followed as aggressively as you might have had. Since the World Trade Center, I think it looks like law enforcement is starting to get a handle on this and to get a feel for the scope of the situation here.
Judith, do you have any sense of when that confidential informant went to work for the FBI?
Well, obviously, Ted, that's a very critical question because one would surely want to know whether or not he was on the scene before the World Trade Center was blown up. If, in fact, he joined the group afterwards, it would certainly raise some questions about how professional this group was, since the first thing that every group worries about is internal security, and this obviously was very easy to penetrate.
Well, this has long seemed like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Remember, we had Mr. Salome who went back for his deposit on the Ryder van. There is a story that we've never been able to confirm, but I find it intriguing that in the shooting of Rabbi Kahane, that Mr. Abu Halima was allegedly waiting in a taxi cab outside to drive the getaway car, and Nosair got into the wrong cab. Have you heard that one?
Yes, we've heard that. But, you know, there are elements of both extraordinary sophistication and enormous crudeness and amateurness. But I would suggest that because now we see a Sudanese connection, it does raise the question about at what level there was foreign involvement in this. That there was foreign involvement, I've been convinced of for some time.
The last report that we did on this suggested that the two masterminds of the World Trade Center bombing, or at least two of them, were Iraqi nationals.
Yes.
So now we're looking at two different governments that may have been involved, the Iraqis and the Sudanese.
I think we have to be careful about declaring the assistance as coming from governments. There are all kinds of individuals and groups within these countries that are more than willing and able to help out. And that's why I think this is such a murky and difficult area. When one talks about the Sudan, however, one is talking about a place in which militant Islamists are in power. Therefore, they're in a position to do things like give passports. I'm not even certain that these men really are Sudanese. What we do know is that they carry Sudanese passports.
David, would it be premature to breathe a huge sigh of relief tonight, or do you think there's more of this out there?
Well, Ted, I think we should be relieved that this plot was stopped, and I think that the core group in this particular plot have been pretty much put away. I think what it does point up, though, is the pervasiveness of this. If you look at the pedigree of the suspects, they're kind of everymen in a lot of ways. They're stock clerk, cab drivers, and people who can be adopted and kind of picked up almost on a freelance basis by fundamentalists who have political goals here that they want to achieve by violence.
And at that point, let me thank you both. David, Judith, thank you. Very good of you to join us. I'll be back in a moment.
Why put up with glasses that are too heavy? LensCrafters' exclusive featherweight lenses are lighter, slimmer, and oh so comfortable.
I never knew glasses could be this comfortable.
LensCrafters' exclusive featherweight lenses. Lighter weight for greater comfort in about an hour.
Attention thieves! Flimsy locks on doors. Fencing back is so high, nobody can see you. Easy access windows. Take your time.
It's the obvious but overlooked things that attract burglars to your house. To help make your home burglar-proof, see your Allstate agent. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Today, to grow your business beyond the expected, you go beyond your borders. But running networks between countries, writing software in many languages, and financing your projects worldwide can be tricky. IBM is at home in over 140 countries. We can steer you away from trouble and toward opportunity, just as we have for hundreds of other companies. If you're seeking your fortune in the world, there's never been a better time to do business with IBM.
Hey, folks all over America trust their homes to Ace Paint. Here's why.
We make our own.
It's premium quality.
Your satisfaction's guaranteed.
Now get Ace 7-Star, our best flat latex house paint for only $11.99 a gallon.
Hey, Ace is America's place for quality paint.
Introducing Ford Taurus SHO and the craving. If you've had a craving for a truly sophisticated performance sedan, may we suggest our 24-valve, 220-horsepower Taurus SHO. Now available with automatic transmission. Think of it as caviar for the power-hungry.
Monday. The issue that won't go away.
What's happening to us is happening to lots of other Americans.
The wound that won't heal.
And nobody's coming in here to get us out either.
This is the story of one man who didn't come home.
I am ordering you to survive.
What's your status here, mister? But was he a collaborator or a victim?
I'm a prisoner.
Martin Sheen, Ralph Macchio, The Last BOW, the Bobby Garwood story Monday. Parental discretion advised.
And that's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
If you wish a videocassette version of Nightline, the cost is $14.98, plus $3.95 shipping and handling.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Saturday, the commish is caught between a woman held hostage and a cop with a secret.
I stayed with her last night.
Will a jealous lover spoil the case?
We'll have a couple of pieces and talk about it.
No! Get back! The commish. Saturday.
A fire's a fire, a grill's a grill. What makes that meat a culinary thrill? Don't waste your barbecue.
Mike Wilfley, president of Diamond Dodge, talks about the importance of listening.
Listening is critical to the success of our business. There are many dealerships you can buy cars from, both good ones and bad ones. I think the ones that are differentiated as far as people perceiving them as being a good or a great dealer are those dealers who respond to what their customers are telling them.
The friendly people at Diamond Dodge in Bloomington are ready to listen to you.
There's no substitute for good listening.
Did you know that garlic is one of nature's most nutritious foods? But not too many people eat garlic because of the odor.
Now, there's General Nutrition Center's odorless triple garlic tablets. No odor, no telltale breath. Just all the natural, healthful benefits of garlic. All natural, odorless triple garlic. Be healthy and social with natural brand odorless triple garlic tablets. Exclusively at GNC.
You already know that Six Flags is bigger and closer than Disneyland. That Six Flags has great family adventure rides that you won't find at Disneyland, like Thunder River, Screamin' Eagle, and Ninja. Well, now there are even more reasons to come to Six Flags, like the amazing acrobats of China, performing dazzling feats of balance and contortion, and the all-new Batman Nights, a laser and fireworks spectacular. Come see why now more than ever Six Flags is as much fun as Disneyland, all right here.
Enjoy special savings on your Six Flags admission when you bring a can of any Coca-Cola product to Six Flags.
Shop Grimm TV and Appliance for your GE appliances.
The plan, boss. The plan. The plan, boss.
Smiles, everybody. Well, welcome to our show. For really, why are we laughing? I mean, half the audience here didn't know about what happened in Virginia, and I just told them, and some of them still don't understand it. One woman applauded. I'm stunned. You know, do you know what I'm talking about, folks? Do you know this? Here, I'll just tell you what happened very quickly. You probably already know this. A 24-year-old wife claimed that her husband raped her while he was asleep. She removed his penis with a knife. And then went in a car, got in a car, and drove and threw it out the window. Why are you people laughing? And somebody retrieved it, and I'm not making this up, and it was a 9.5-hour operation to reattach it. And the feminists in a Now gang probably erect a monument to this woman or some such. Well, anyway, hey, I'll tell you what we have planned on our program tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to show you more of the 1990 budget deal versus this year's budget deficit reduction bill. This is, the more we see, the more we show you, the more incredulous we all are, and you will be too. And I can't wait to get to all this tonight, and it's just some of it we intended to do last night. Before I get into it, though, I've got to tell you one thing, to just spell out liberalism for you and to give you an illustration of what liberalism is. The mayor of Chicago, the reason there's a guy in the audience tonight from Illinois who didn't know this either. I guess because the people spent all day getting here to the show, they didn't know what happened in the news today. Mayor Daley of Chicago wants a meeting with David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA. Because guess whose fault it is there were riots in Chicago? Charles Barkley. Here's the rationale. No, here's the rationale. After Game 5, in the post-game interview, Barkley was smiling and said, hey, we saved Chicago tonight. You people can tear down that plywood, tear it off your windows. No riots tonight. We won the game. Mayor Daley feels that Barkley was taunting the citizens of Chicago and encouraging them to riot. I mean, they didn't do a thing. Barkley is responsible for the riot. The people of Chicago, 3 people died, 602, a small riot by Chicago standards. They had nothing to do with it. It's just, that's a great illustration of liberal passing the buck. Okay, straight to it, folks, straight to it. We got a lot of video to show you tonight, some charts and some commentary. If you've been seething the past 2 nights, if your eyes have opened the past 2 nights, you know, we were talking earlier today, I was chiding people for not remembering all of this that we're showing you that took place in the fall of 1990. And then I got struck by a realization, maybe you didn't see it in the first place. Much of this is on C-SPAN. If you don't watch that, you didn't see it. And the dominant media, the three networks and the newspapers, they didn't show you this stuff. Maybe you're seeing it for the first time, in which case you're not to be faulted for not remembering, but you should give open thanks that finally there's a show here that will show you this stuff, make these comparisons, because this stuff's outrageous. Let's go to the floor of the United States Senate today, where Arkansas Senator David Pryor waxes eloquent about the upcoming Deficit Reduction Act. Take a look.
This is the president, the first president I have seen in a long time around here, who has had the courage to even admit there is a deficit, who has had the courage to even try to do something about the deficit.
It's a United States senator, the first president to ever admit that there is a deficit. My gosh, every president in my life has been talking about a deficit. I'm sick and tired of hearing about deficits. I bet you are too. Why don't we have a president who is the first president who's got courage to admit there's a deficit? That's an insult to our intelligence. Let's go back. September 30th, 1990. Who's this?
The bipartisan leaders and I have reached agreement on the federal budget. Over 5 years, it would reduce the projected deficit by $500 billion.
Who was that? Was that a president talking about the deficit, did I hear? So how does Pryor have any credibility? Listen to the rationale these guys are using on the floor of the Senate. While you're at work, you don't see any of this. Well, now you do, thanks to us. This is the rationale they're using. Thank you. Thank you. Now, yesterday, President Clinton took to the Rose Garden and made a statement, it's about a minute and a half long, justifying all of these tax increases and all these so-called moves to reduce the deficit. And we intended to get to this yesterday. We just didn't have time, so we're going to do it for you now. And we're going to do this in a start-stop format. At the moment I decide you need to have translated what he just said, or when you need instant commentary and analysis, what he just said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say, stop the tape. And Chet will stop the tape, and it will start the tape. So it's going to appear jumpy, boom, boom, like that. But it must be done because it's got to be commented on item by item. So let's roll President Clinton from yesterday.
Plan is an honest budget plan, that it will reduce the deficit at least as much, if not more, than we're saying.
Whoa, stop the tape. Stop the tape. It's going to reduce the deficit more than we're saying? If it's going to reduce the deficit what you're saying it is, then takes definite steps to make it reduce more. Don't you? Well, it may even do more than we think. Well, we don't even know. Roll the tape. Roll the tape, Chet.
It is fair, and we're working hard to pass it in the Senate. But we ought to have some bipartisan support. We ought to have some Republican support for this.
Stop it. Stop the tape. Why does he want bipartisan support? Why does he want Republican support? So he can blame them. That's right. Because these tax increases, he doesn't need Republican support, folks. The Democrats own both houses. They got all the votes they need, counting Democrats. The Republicans can't stop this no matter what. So when he sits there and says, we got to have Republican votes, we got to have bipartisan, he knows that if this thing doesn't work, he's going to need to have to blame it on the Republicans. And he can already say, well, look, my plan never got implemented. Well, the one I submitted, they got changed. The Republicans stood in the way of my stimulus package. And they wouldn't vote for what we did get. So I'm going to blame the Republicans. The Republicans stood in the way. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be able to blame the Republicans. When's the last time this guy ever accepted responsibility for anything? I mean, and he doesn't. The buck never gets there. Roll the tape, Chet.
And the fact that the Republican senators are thinking about coming out with a plan now, calling it a no-tax plan, which is really nothing but a shield to keep the wealthiest Americans from paying their fair share, even though their taxes went down for the last 12 years.
Stop the tape! Obviously, some rich people in our audience, right? Let me tell you something, folks. Tax rates went down. How many times I got to say this? 1981, Reagan assumes office. Top marginal rate, 70%. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. 1989, Reagan leaves office. Top marginal rate, 28%. We really reduced tax rates, but guess what? We nearly doubled revenues generated by the tax system in the country. The rich are paying an ever larger percentage of the tax burden than they ever have. This is a lie. This is right out of the liberal Democrat handbook. It's a cliche, it's a lie, it's class envy, it's exploitation. It's designed to do nothing more than make you hate the rich, to make you resent the rich. Roll the tape. There's even more.
That exploded is a real disservice to this country.
Why, Mr. President, do you think the Republicans want to protect the privileged?
Stop the tape! Stop the... Did you hear the question? That's Wolf Blitzer, I think. Here the question is, why, Mr. President, do you think Republicans want to protect the privileged? See what I'm talking about? Willing accomplices in the media. What proof is there that Republicans want to protect? And what is the privileged anyway? Some guy, we told you who the rich were the other day on this show. They're you. People who have busted their tails. They've worked 70 or 80 hours a week. They've maybe earned a lot. They don't deserve anything. They've earned it. They call that privileged? You know who the privileged are in this country? Senator Kennedy. All he had to do was grow up. And some say he hadn't even done that. That's privilege. He was born to it. Born to it. Those people are the privileged, but not people like you who are out there busting your tail and working very hard, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. How in the world they can say that you're privileged? Now listen, he doesn't answer the question. Here, watch.
Well, that's what they did. That's what their 12-year economic policy was all about. That's what trickle-down economics was based on, that if you just lower taxes on the wealthy enough, and when you have to increase them on the middle class.
Stop the tape! Stop the tape! They didn't raise taxes on the middle class. Everybody's tax burden went down. The richest tax burden went down the least. We have a chart. If we have time, we'll show it to you. If we don't, we'll show it on our next show, but we'll show you. And the thing is, in the 8 years of the 80s, those 7 or 8 fat years, they worked. What he's describing here worked. We had all kinds of new jobs, massive economic growth, longest sustained recovery in the post-war period, and here he is trying to redefine it. Here, watch the rest of this for what it's worth.
That upper income people, when they get all the economic gains, will then reinvest it, create jobs, and raise incomes. It didn't work. It has never worked in the history of the country. I want to emphasize, I do not want to punish success. That's not what this is about.
Stop the tape! Who says that? Who have you ever heard say punish success? Have you heard McNeil Lehrer say it? Have you heard Rather, Brokaw, Jennings say it? Have you heard Maxie Shields say it? You haven't. Have you heard anybody say it but me? What's that mean? Watching this show. Hi, Mr. President. Now, look, we got to take a break here. Thank you. Way over time. You are punishing success, and you know it. And we got to take a break here. I'm way over time, so stay with us. We'll be right back with a lot more. Don't take it. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. My friends, even I was surprised by this one. In the June issue of the Limbaugh Letter, my monthly newsletter, we have a Limbaugh Institute exclusive called Lies, Lies. This report reveals the Clinton administration's massive violations of truth and how Clinton has buried his old campaign promises under an avalanche of new falsehoods. Your free copy of Lies, Lies, available only with a Limbaugh Letter. Call now, 800-235-8900 for the low rate of $29.95.
Okay, now I am an optimist who has become very skeptical about fat-free salad dressings. So, naturally, when Healthy Sensation promised great honey Dijon taste, I thought, yeah, right. Just like you're thinking now. But Healthy Sensation has this sweet honey tangy Dijon thing. It's very creamy. It's very good. So try it. All you've got to lose is your cynicism.
Healthy Sensation. Taste and believe.
All right, people, the voters are screaming about violent crime. What are we going to tell them?
How about the truth? We're not keeping violent criminals in prison.
Sir, 35 states are under court order to release criminals.
The average criminal set free will commit 187 more crimes a year.
We're out of prison space.
We gotta make more. Good people are getting hurt bad. With the likelihood of arrest and conviction, a murderer will spend 1.8 years in prison.
Yeah, and a rapist a couple of months.
I'm not in the prison building business.
We're in the re-election business. Thank you.
Listen, just a handful of repeat offenders commit most violent crimes.
We could just stop letting them go.
Look, stop giving me the facts and start giving me headlines.
How about another gun control law?
Yeah, we've already got 20,000 of them.
It just don't work.
So my gun control plan to restrict firearm sales to citizens will break the back of violent crime and rid our streets of violent criminals. Do we have any questions?
Don't let politicians get away with murder. Join the NRA.
Okay, we're back. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Hold that up there for a second, Chet. That's Senator Benson, who's now the Treasury Secretary. He said that October 14th, 1990, you're talking about over $40 billion worth of cuts coming up immediately. That's the first year of the 1990 deal. And then we're talking about $500 billion over the 5 years. That is credible. No, it's not. If it were credible, we wouldn't be going through this mishmash now, would we? I want to show you some charts. We showed you this a couple days ago. Here it again is there's more information on this chart. New York Times, Friday, March 19th. What this is the year on the left. The black figures in the middle are the receipts, total receipts to the government. The figures shaded in gray are the deficits for each year, and the far right-hand figures are the percentage of the GNP that is that the deficit is, percentage of the budget. Now let's get a close-up of the years that we've showed you: 86, 87, 88, 89. 86, Tax Reform Act of 86. This took the top rate down 28%. Receipts were $769 billion. The deficit was $221 billion, and it was 22.3% of the budget. 87, 88, and 89 were at 150 to 155 billion. That's real deficit reduction. Look at revenues growing through the roof: 854, 909, 991. After getting the marginal rate down 28%, and look at the percentage over there of the federal budget that deficit is: 14.9, 14.6, 13.3. That's what Clinton and his cronies are calling the worst economy in the last 50 years. Now, let's go to Clinton's numbers. The 5 years Clinton plan, these are Congressional Budget Office numbers, but he agrees with them: 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. Look at the amount of revenues we're sending those people: $1.2 trillion to $1.48 trillion. The deficits: 296, 302, 301, 327, 361. This, by the way, is after the plan. Now I got a lesson for you to learn. Put that. I want you to leave it back up there, Chet, because people have to see the numbers. I know it's more interesting to look at me, but they have to see the numbers. What we have here, we've got deficit reduction. Bill Clinton's plan is going to reduce the deficit, right? But what's happened? The deficit's getting bigger. So there's a lesson in Washington. When deficits are reduced, they get bigger. Same thing with spending cuts. When they say we're going to have spending cuts, spending goes up. That's deficit reduction, but deficit spending is going through the roof. Now let's go back and look at the percentage of the budget that those deficits are. 19, 19, 18, 18, 19, compared to 13 and 14 during the 80s. More under Bill Clinton of our federal budget is deficit spending than during Ronald Reagan. There is the truth on paper from the New York Times. We have more video clips when we come back, and you don't want to miss them. Right after.
They say the Anita Hill effect helped elect radical feminists to Congress, Bill Clinton to the White House, and change the course of American history. But now history catches up with Anita Hill. The American Spectator has obtained a limited number of the blockbuster new book of the year, The Real Anita Hill, The Untold Story, published by the Free Press. You can purchase this shocking expose in bookstores, or get it free by subscribing to the American Spectator. Author David Brock uncovers evidence about Anita Hill that has been censored by liberals, her lifetime pattern of crying sexual harassment, her political radicalism, and most important, her likely motivation for destroying the career of Clarence Thomas. Call 1-800-332-3900 and subscribe to the American Spectator. We'll rush you a free copy of The Real Anita Hill, The Untold Story. For $34.95, you'll get 12 issues of the American Spectator and your free copy of the Anita Hill book. Call 1-800-332-3900. Our supply's limited, so first come, first served. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-332-3900 now.
Beautiful lamps, curios, dinettes, and more. Yours for the asking. Announcing Kaufman's Absolute Furniture Auction this Saturday through Monday at their Southwest Adams location. Kaufman's is clearing out their inventory to make room for new merchandise. Choose from thousands of items. Absolutely everything offered will be sold to the highest bidder. No minimum bid required. Come to the Kaufman's Absolute Furniture Auction this Saturday through Monday at 2201 Southwest Adams in South Peoria.
There's that cartoon I love. That's the target. That guy, your income taxes may not be going up. Those of you who smoke and drink beer, but man, are you going to get soaked with this plan? And that bullseye on his chest means that you're a target of the Clinton administration. J. Rockefeller, the privilege. This guy, all he had to do is grow up. Our man in Washington caught up with him yesterday and asked him, what's the difference between the 1990 budget deal and the 1993 budget deal? This is so good. Watch.
The difference is that Bush didn't mean it, and Clinton does. And Clinton has staked a presidency on deficit reduction. And Bush led what was sort of a 4-month secret process in which the things that he said inside the meetings, the summit meetings, he never said to the public.
So?
And Clinton has no inside meetings. Everything he says to the public. And so it's real deficit reduction, not just in getting the numbers down, but in helping the American people understand why it has to happen.
Senator, everything Clinton says to the public may be in public, but who can believe any of it? Number one. No, that's true. Number two, George Bush caved into everything you guys wanted. This is a Democratic deal out of 1990. Bush and his pals caved trying to get along with you. Don't try to throw this off on Bush. You got rid of him. This is what's going to happen to anybody else who tries to enact the same kind of thing. And then this business of, well, Bush said some things, had these inside meetings, didn't say the same thing. So if you have an inside meeting, you don't mean it. It's a new rule in Washington. Inside meeting, you don't mean it. If you have an outside meeting, you do mean it. I mean, it's more Washington gobbledygook. Now, next question to Senator Rockefeller. Senator Rockefeller, why did the 90 budget deal fail? Watch this.
Well, first of all, it didn't fail entirely. I mean, the deficit would have been much worse had there not been an agreement at that time. But this is a national teaching process as well as a budget deficit reduction.
So it's working, huh? That's why we have to do it all over again, because it's working so good. We got to do it again. There is an example of arrogance. This is a teaching process. You guys don't know what they're doing except for this show. How in the world can they claim they're teaching anybody? They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes, folks. They're insulting your intelligence every day. You're nothing but a bunch of boob fools to these people who don't think you remember what they did 2.5 years ago. Even if you don't, we'll help you. Jim Sasser, again, of deficit fame, next, after this.
Hooked on Phonics worked for me. Hooked on Phonics worked for me. Hooked on Phonics worked for me. Hooked on Phonics works for me. Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Learn to read with Hooked on Phonics, the musical reading program. Then, read to learn with SRA reading comprehension used by over 60 million people.
Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Why is Bert divorcing Lonnie? Bert himself gives you the answer exclusively in this week's Inquirer. Plus, what's the truth about other women? Bert tells the whole story and shares his personal family photo album with you.
It's only in this week's Inquirer.
Why did Cheers star Kelsey Grammer's pregnant wife try to kill herself? Is Oprah the victim of a real-life ghost?
I want to know.
What's the best way to beat loneliness? Find out in this week's Inquirer, filled with fascinating features for people with inquiring minds.
Like me.
I'm Scott Krasinski, Vice President General Manager of the Peoria Chiefs. It can get pretty quiet around here sometimes, but when the Chiefs are in town, it's a different story.
Yeah, she's out of there,
Chiefs baseball, check it out for yourself.
There's something new and exciting happening at Shakey's.
On Sundays at 9 a.m., we've added delicious breakfast items to our full buffet.
We've got scrambled and eggs Benedict, sausage, French toast, corned beef hash, ham, hash browns, breakfast pizzas, and more.
So join us for breakfast on Sundays at 9 a.m.
These special items are all added to our regular Sunday buffet. And join us during the week for our regular all-you-can-eat lunch and dinner buffet. Don't forget, senior citizens receive a 10% discount, and kids 2 to 12 eat for 40 cents per year at Shakey's.
and truck buyers, fasten your seatbelts. It's Car Wars, the demolition derby of high prices. John Pierce and Gary F. Springer meeting head on to save you money. They're smashing prices, crunching interest rates, and pounding commissions. The new rules are wrecking prices. Not sell out. We're crashing every deal to beat beer. See the prices demolished on over 1,200 cars, trucks, and vans during Car Wars at John Pierce Ford, Nissan Jeep and Eagle, and Upring Chevy Old Soft Geo.
Right now, you are watching Rush Limbaugh, the television show, here from the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Jim Sasser, chairman of the Budget Committee in the Senate. We've shown you clips all week, back and forth, contradicting himself blatantly. He is, of course, the man who says the devil. This is so good. Watch this. This is from yesterday on the floor of the U.S. Senate during debate, the final product.
But it bears repeating that this is the largest deficit reduction plan ever proposed by any president of the United States.
The bipartisan leaders and I have reached agreement on the federal budget. Over 5 years, it would reduce the projected deficit by $500 billion.
Now let me repeat that so there can be no misunderstanding. This is the largest deficit reduction package ever proposed by any president of the United States.
Over 5 years, it would reduce the projected deficit by $500 billion. That is $500 billion.
Senator Sasser, you want to revise and extend your remarks? I want to show you a chart here very quickly here, ladies and gentlemen. This is personal income tax rates. We prepared this in an earlier show last fall. Look at those income quintiles, poorest 20% all the way to the richest. The middle column there is the top income in the particular bracket, and the figures in the two right-hand columns are the income tax rates by income group. Look at 1980 when Reagan takes office. Look at that column and compare all the numbers in the 1992 column, and you'll see that every number is lower than it is in the 1980 column. That means everybody's taxes went down during the 80s. When Clinton and his cronies want to say that only the rich got a break, look at everybody's tax rates went down. And look at whose rates went down the smallest or the least. The richest 1% saw their average rate go from 23.9% to 22%. On the other hand, look at 17 to 15, 12 to 10, 11 to 8, 8 to 6, 4.5 to 2.8. We've got data like this that we're just going to continue to show you, because what you're hearing out of Washington from the liberal Democrats who want this bill is nothing but a bunch of lies and a revision of history. We're out of time, but more on our next show, where we'll see you then.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following. Rush Limbaugh's Wardrobe by Rochester, Big and Tall.
Hi, I'm tight in the winter.
And Airport Lumber can add the solar link room to your home.
For a lot less than you may think.
He left his music. He'll be back.
Come see the new solar link room at Airport Lumber for yourself. One look and you'll be hooked.
You already know that Six Flags is bigger and closer than Disneyland. That Six Flags has great family adventure rides that you won't find at Disneyland, like Thunder River, Screamin' Eagle, and Ninja. Well, now there are even more reasons to come to Six Flags, like the amazing acrobats of China, performing dazzling feats of balance and contortion, and the all-new Batman Nights, a laser and fireworks spectacular. Come see why now more than ever Six Flags is as much fun as Disneyland, all right here. Enjoy special savings on your Six Flags admission when you bring a can of any Coca-Cola product to Six Flags.
We're back with Representative Charles Schumer, James Zogby, and James Adams. Mr. Adams, I cut you off a little at the end there. You were beginning to object to what Congressman Schumer was saying about the FBI not having the resources to really stop terrorism.
Well, the FBI always claim they don't have the resources to stop anything because they want to have more resources. Every bureaucracy does. The fact of the matter is that the FBI, the CIA, the DIA, and every other intelligence gathering or counter-terrorist entity has got far more resources today because they don't have the Cold War to cope with. The issue is not so much a matter of resources, but understanding the new phenomenon, switching gears from countering the PLO, the PFLP, and the traditional terrorist enemies to looking at this new problem, understanding it, and then coping with it. At the moment, we don't even begin to understand the problem. And until that happens, you're going to get more attacks like this, more threats like this, not just in the United States, but in Europe and in Asia. And we need to do more to understand it, to cope with it, and then to counter it effectively.
And briefly, how would you define the new problem?
Well, what we have, I think, is a number of common grounds. We have the faith, we have a large number of people who went off to fight the war in Afghanistan on the side of the Mujahideen, who are now experienced guerrilla fighters who are back in their own homelands, whether it be the United States or elsewhere. We have Iran, who is looking to spread its own brand of revolution around the world. We have Sudan, who is supporting that. These are all common areas, but we don't have a worldwide single network of terrorism. You have a very incoherent, inchoate individual groups, individual cells, individuals even, who share faith and some other common things, but not any other particular thing you can pinpoint. So what you need to find is the common ground we have between the extremists and ourselves. What is it that is causing this social phenomenon? Undercut that, as we've done with every other terrorist organization in every other country in the world, and then you begin to undermine the rationale, then you begin to combat it, then you begin to defeat it.
Mr. Zogby, when you hear that, when you hear the word faith mentioned a couple of times, we're talking about Islam and talking about undercutting it, does that worry you?
Well, it worries me in the way that the issue is cast, the way it's framed. The fact is that what is common here are people who come from countries that have long-standing grievances with the West. The fact is we do need to understand it, we do need to resolve it, and we need a foreign policy that understands how to balance our interests with the moral imperatives of implementing international law so as to undercut the grievance that is long-standing. Does
that mean a pro-Israeli stance?
No, what it means is, for example, we could have gone a long distance in helping to ease some of the tension had we been more forthright in addressing the needs of Muslims in Bosnia, had we been more forthright in addressing, in fact, protecting the needs of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. But let me make a point, though, that when we're talking about Muslims in America and Arab Americans, we're talking about communities, each of which number Arab Americans 2.5 million, Muslim Americans almost 4 to 5 million. We're talking about people who've made significant contributions that have largely gone unrecognized to this society. I would suggest that one of the ways to undercut the threat is to have more active reaching out to these constituencies than has been done in the past, to bring them in to public life to greater extent that they've been up till now, so that they feel a greater stake in what this country has to offer. They've made significant contributions, but in particular the recent immigrant Muslim communities have not been reached out to. And I think that that is a failing that everyone shares in this society and that we ought to address.
But this isn't just an American problem, this is a world problem. If you look at Egypt, the government there is threatened by the rise of Muslim fundamentalism, by a very sophisticated wave of terrorism. The way we address that, the way the Egyptian government addressed that, is by a wave of repression, which does nothing except encourage terrorism.
That is my next question, Congressman Schumer. I mean, all of the things that you do to address terrorism, in some ways, let the terrorists win. Because you do invoke repression in your own society or close your borders, do things that are fundamentally anti-American.
Well, Koki, I don't think we have to do that. If we were at that stage, it would be a far more wrenching choice. We're so far away from that because basically we've sort of slept as this new phenomenon has crept up on us, that there are many things that can be done that are aimed at the terrorists themselves and not at the general population in any way, and I mentioned a few of those to begin with. I also find it sort of puzzling. Mr. Zogby says, on the one hand, he wishes to separate the mainstream of the Muslim community in America from the terrorists. I agree with that. And then on the other hand, he says, well, we have to sort of change our policies, be more pro-Palestinian, which may be the mainstream of Muslims and may
that's
not.
what I'm saying.
In response to the terrorists, well, it seemed to me that's what you said. I think they're two totally separate issues. Our policies in the Middle East are one thing. How to deal with anyone on any side of this issue or any other who seeks to achieve their aims by violence is a totally separate issue.
James Adams was addressing not the problem of political violence in this country. He was
that's
addressing...
what I am addressing.
No, I know. But what I was addressing
serious
was his...
problem.
Congressman, I was addressing his point about our relationship with other countries and with movements that are emerging in those countries.
You know,
I want to say that we are not talking here only about
other countries.
Congressman,
wait a second.
I listened to you. Could you listen for just a moment?
Just let me finish the point. Some of the terrorists are not only aimed, these same terrorists are aimed at some of those very same Muslim countries as at America.
That's got to be the last word. Thank you very much, Congressman Schumer, Mr. Zogby, Mr. Adams. I'll be back in a moment.
This may not look like summer camp, but it is. It's zoo camp in Busch Gardens on Tampa Bay. And every summer, kids like me come here to learn about some amazing things, like how dinosaurs grew up, that snakes only look scary, and spiders are very interesting. Best of all, it's fun for us and the animals.
Busch Gardens is an Anheuser-Busch company. Helping kids better appreciate our world is our pledge and our promise.
It's amazing how it grew and grew. That little company you started in your garage. And now you've got an automobile whose drive for quality matches your own. The Buick Park Avenue Ultra. With its supercharged engine, the Park Avenue Ultra is proof you still take pride in what comes out of your garage.
Attention thieves! Flimsy locks on doors. Fencing back is so high, nobody can see you. Easy access windows. Take your time.
It's the obvious but overlooked things that attract burglars to your house. To help make your home burglar-proof, see your Allstate agent. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Sunday. Can we play one more game for the rest of the world? Sean Connery is Britain's best.
You're quite a man, Mr. James Bond.
And the fate of the world has never been in better hands. Kim Basinger, Barbara Carrera.
I am the best.
Well, to be perfectly honest.
And Sean Connery is James Bond.
There was this girl in Philadelphia.
Never Say Never Again, Sunday at 8:30, 7:30 Central. Parental discretion is advised.
If you don't shop Dodge City, you won't get a Dodge City deal.
Now, Dodge City brings you Dodge Dynasty loaded for just $13,095.
You ask for it, we build it. The all-new Sam Lehman Dodge City, Pioneer Parkway, Peoria. If you don't shop Dodge City, you won't get a Dodge City deal.
Now, Sam Lehman brings you Dodge Shadow ESs from just $99.95.
You ask for it, we build it. The all-new Sam Lehman Dodge City, Pioneer Parkway, Peoria.
That's our report for tonight. I'm Cokie Roberts in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Have you had a pleasant stay in Vietnam?
The issue that won't go away.
I want to be released.
The wound that won't heal.
No matter what, one of us is going to make it back.
Ralph Macchio, Martin Sheen, The Last POW, the Bobby Garwood story Monday. Parental discretion advised.
Car and truck buyers, fasten your seatbelts. It's Car Wars, the demolition derby of high prices. John Pierce and Gary Upringer meeting head on to save you money. They're smashing prices, crunching interest rates, and pounding payments to new lows.
We're wrecking prices. John, sell up trade. We're crashing every deal to beat beer.
See the prices demolished on over 1,200 cars, trucks, and vans during Car Wars at John Pierce Ford, Nissan Jeep and Eagle, and Upring Chevy Old Saab Geo.
Did you know that garlic is one of nature's most nutritious foods? But not too many people eat garlic. Because of the odor.
Now there's General Nutrition Center's odorless triple garlic tablets. No odor, no telltale breath. Just all the natural healthful benefits of garlic. All natural odorless triple garlic. Be healthy and social with natural brand odorless triple garlic tablets. Exclusively at GNC.
Beautiful things don't just happen. In homes, it's a result of many things. Lovely room setting, harmonizing colors and pieces. That's what makes it all happen. At Lippman's, we're proud of the contributions we've made, of the decorator plans we've developed, helping to create warm, beautiful homes over all these years. Sometimes, all it takes is a little help. We know because we make beautiful homes happen. Lippman's Furniture and Interiors, Peoria and Bloomington Normal.
A lot of people are saving a lot of time with Jim McComb one-price buying.
And that's it. There's nothing else to do. Just say, yes, you want it.
This week, 1992 Geo Prism 4-doors with air, automatic, and stereo are one priced at only $157.95 a month. And 1992 Cavalier RS 4-doors with air, anti-lock brakes, and automatic are only $169.35 a month.
We made our buy that day. It was that impressive.
Save time and money with no hassle one-price buying. Only at Jim McComb Chevy Geo.
Relax in a spa from D&J Pool on Farmington Road, Peoria.
Where did you come from? This is a surprise. I mean, I knew that was true. I knew that the book had found its way back. In fact, I was going to start talking about that. But I didn't know that they were going to do this. Is very. I assume this is from the staff. Really, it's not from whoever wrote Women Who Run with the Poodles. Because, well, this is great. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rush Limbaugh, the TV show, as spontaneous TV at its best. We are here for our usual fireside chat show. Well, better get this out of the way. You know what's going to, people are going to want me to open this. This is going to become a distraction. Jennifer, come back. She is so beautiful. Jennifer's on our staff. Take a, hold it. Stay here. No, don't rush. Jennifer, everybody talks about how beautiful Deborah Norville is, but Deborah Norville cannot hold a can. I mean,
thank you.
You are so, thank you so much for bringing.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Oh. All right, I'm cool. I'm composed, and I'm ready to do another excursion into televised broadcast excellence right here on Rush Limbaugh, the TV show. This book, The Way Things Ought to Be, by me, came out September 14th, 1992. It opened, because it came, that was the middle of the week, I think. So it opened, the first week it was on at number 6 on the New York Times bestseller list. The next week it was number 1. And it was number 1 for 4 weeks. And then Madonna's book came out. And Madonna, for the next 3 weeks, sat atop me on the New York Times bestseller list. I was number 2, and Madonna was number 1. Then the hype, and that's all that drove the Madonna book. I mean, there was not. I mean, the hype died, and Madonna fell to number 2, and I reassumed the number 1 position, and it was sitting atop Madonna on the New York Times bestseller list. And that was probably the end of October. That lasted through, I think, sometime in February, and then Bill Moyer's book came out, which was A Healing of the Mind, and my book fell to number 2. And then it fell to number 6, and everybody said, all right, well, it's had its run, and it had sold about 2.4, 2.3 million copies at that time, and it became one of the top 5 all-time bestseller hardcover non-fiction books in the nation's history. And every stage, so of course, I thank the audience, I thank everybody, because you're the ones who made it happen. You're the ones out there purchasing it and reading it, and I've always made sure to let you know that I am profoundly aware of that, so I thank you again. Well, then, as the book gets number 6 and number 7, all of a sudden, Moyer's books drops out of number 1, and the next book that assumes the number 1 position is something called Women Who Run with the Wolves by, it's a feminist book.
and I jokingly call it women who run with the poodles, because frankly, I don't know any women who run with the wolves, and I don't want to know any. And I refuse to believe that there are enough women running with wolves to buy enough copies of a book to make it #1 over mine. So, but we figured the book's had its run, and it's now going to fade away from the list. It's time to let the paperback version go. And then later this year, here will come See, I Told You So. Well, then the holiday season came with a Mother's Day, graduation, Easter, and Father's Day, and the book jumped up to #2 from #6. This happened about the latter part of April, first part of May. And then today, we learned that on July 4th, this book, for the 3rd time since its publication date, will become #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And I am so proud of that, because I don't know. I really don't know. And by the way, I'm sure some of you are thinking, Rush, what are you talking about yourself for? It's good news. But it's not really about me. I mean, it's about you. You guys, you people out there are continuing to buy this book. In fact, follow me to the blackboard. There is an interesting corresponding trend that I can demonstrate. If we had a little graph such as this, a little bar graph or chart, here is Bill Clinton approval rating when he is inaugurated, right up here. And this is January, and this is today. This is what his graph looks like. Now, here is my book at #6 on the list when he's inaugurated. And here is today. What? Woo. X marks the spot, ladies and gentlemen. As his approval ratings are correspondingly down, mine are correspondingly up. As the audience grows in size on this show, the radio show, and more people are becoming aware of the book, they're out buying it, and I thank you literally from the bottom of my heart. It means more than you can possibly imagine. Something I wish everybody could experience. I also have other great news. A little less than 3 months ago, in fact, this is what I was looking at when the show started. Let me show you my niece. There she is. That is my brother David and his wife Lisa FedExed us the picture of Kristen Suzanne. I guess this is taken real recently because she's almost 3 months old. She was born in the last week of March. There's a picture of her that they took with a camera that I gave them as a gift because I'm a good brother. And my friends, she's so, I guess you people are experienced with babies, I'm not. She looks so much different than when she was born. I saw her 20 minutes after she was born, and what's profoundly confusing about this is she is so beautiful, and she looks so much like my brother. I don't understand how the two are possible. But I'm just kidding, David. She's just gorgeous, and I've seen her a couple of times, and it's miraculous. You really, I don't know how people can look at babies as just another fact of life, just something that happens. Every time I see this little girl, and having seen her 20 minutes after she was born, I'm just profoundly moved by the whole process of how the human race procreates. One more thing here before we go to the break. You may not have heard this. We discussed this in our production meeting, and a lot of people didn't know what this was. I thought, well, maybe the rest of the country doesn't know either. There is a window in the Oval Office of the White House. It's the window you see behind the president, whatever he's, well, speak of the devil. There he is. There is a figure of speech. Don't, anyway, there's President Clinton. In fact, do you know when that picture's taken? That picture's taken, the president's answering questions about, has he been able to get a hold of his brother yet? This half-brother guy who just came out of the woodwork. Now, the president, well, I placed a call, and I left the answer on his machine, but I haven't heard back. 5 minutes after the picture was taken, the president then placed a call to the space shuttle and got through. And it was a video call. I mean, you can get a hold of the space shuttle 120 miles in orbit, complete with picture. Did you get a hold of your brother? Well, I tried. You know, it's kind of like this warlord guy. Now there are wanted posters out for this guy over in Somalia. The UN's actually look like Jesse James era wanted posters, like you'd see in the post office. They've got pictures of the guy, and every night he's on television being interviewed by NBC. It continues. So anyway, that window, go back to that picture, Chet. The reporters in the Rose Garden, where you can see through that window, I'm told, from the Rose Garden, reporters the other day noticed that there was a red screen in front of that window, and they couldn't see through it. And so at the next press conference, they asked D.D. Myers, what about that red screen? No other presidents put a screen up there. They may close curtains now and then, but there was a red screen. And that was the question. She said, hey, he was fully clothed in there. There's Dee after the answer. I wonder if they'll believe that. She said, no, he was fully clothed and he was doing work. Why say he was fully clothed? I mean, was the president nude in the Oval Office? Nobody asked that. Nobody. I guess, Dee Dee is in the loop now, and if she knows he's in there fully clothed, well, no, it's a strange answer, don't you think? Can you imagine President Reagan? They put up a screen, President Reagan was president, and then they asked Larry Speakes, who was the press secretary then, Mr. Speakes, why is there a red screen? Hey, the president had his clothes on. What do you mean by that? I mean, that's what, I'll tell you, this is a defensive bunch. We have more deficit reduction truth, 1990 to today, when we come back after this break. See you then.
Okay, now I am an optimist who has become very skeptical about fat-free salad dressings. So, naturally, when Healthy Sensation promised great honey Dijon taste, I thought, yeah, right. Just like you're thinking now. But Healthy Sensation has this sweet honey tangy Dijon thing. It's very creamy. It's very good. So try it. All you've got to lose is your cynicism.
Healthy Sensation. Taste and believe.
Are you tired of the liberal slant on news today? Now there's a choice. Rush Limbaugh has told you about the Conservative Chronicle. Now each week you'll enjoy credible, intelligent commentary from conservative columnists and cartoonists. You'll read insightful, crisply written opinions from syndicated columnists like George Will, Joseph Sobran, Gene Kirkpatrick, William Buckley, and more. Join the ranks of the truly informed. Subscribe to the Conservative Chronicle and get 52 issues for only $39. Money-back guarantee. Call now and subscribe.
Do you have questions about retirement living? If so, call today to find your answers in our new brochure, Westminster Village, a continuing care retirement community.
Mike Wilfley, president of Diamond Dodge, talks about the importance of listening.
Listening is critical to the success of our business. There are many dealerships you can buy cars from, both good ones and bad ones. I think the ones that are differentiated as far as people perceiving them as being a good or a great dealer are those dealers who respond to what their customers are telling them.
The friendly people at Diamond Dodge in Bloomington are ready to listen to you.
There's no substitute for good listening.
Everything sold to the highest bidder. No minimum bid required. During Kaufman's Absolute Furniture Auction this Saturday through Monday at 2201 South Adams, Peoria.
How did Bruce Willis prepare for his very first acting role in The Buff? He tells us the naked truth on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Monday at 6:30 after 19 Eyewitness News.
It takes a Bubba to know a Bubba. Welcome back to Rush. What's so controversial about that? I'm glad you're back. All right, let's go back to some more of it. Pardon the voice. It's the end of the week, and it's been working a lot. Let's go back and visit some senators, members of Congress, talking about budget deficit 93, budget deficit 1990. First, our good friend, the lovely and gracious, diminutive, petite, Barbara Boxer, from California. Ms. Boxer speaks in cliches. Ms. Boxer gets up every day, and this woman's very wealthy, by the way, friends. I've seen her on TV zillions of times. I've never seen her wearing the same dress 2 days in a row. I've never seen the same dress twice, and I've seen a lot of jewelry. This woman is from Northern California, and she is, well, her husband's loaded, and she's loaded by association. take that, Gloria. I mean, if you're going to run out there and say that Kay Bailey Hutchison is a female impersonator, then I'm going to tell the truth about some of you gals instead of telling lies, which you do about some of your enemies. Now, the real important thing to watch here is that it's more of the cliche and more of the revisionism of the 80s from Ms. Boxer. Here it is again.
Republicans say cut spending more. Cancel the taxes on the wealthiest, the millionaires and the billionaires. Cancel those taxes. We hear the same trickle down. Don't hurt the richest, because then they won't invest and create jobs. Well, we had that decade, and it didn't work.
Oh, but it did work. Here we go again. Let's show you these income tax rates from the 80s just to remind you. We have a little chart that shows you how income tax rates fared during the 1980s by quintile. There it is again. On the left-hand column, the income groups, the top income in each bracket represented by the left-hand column, and then 1980 and 1992 tax rates in their respective years. The poorest 20% had a tax rate in 1990 well, it averaged it out. They didn't pay taxes because there are people who make less than $10,000 factored in there. Let's look, for example, at just the fourth quintile of $82,400. In 1980, when Reagan took office, their tax rate was 11%. 1992, it was 8.7. Every column figure on the right is lower than the column figure on the left. It goes down, but the rich, 1% of the population, their tax rate went down the least. And Ms. Boxer, nobody's talking about not taxing them. What we're talking about here is not punishing them. It's just that simple. Let's now go. Here is Leon Panetta. We're going to show you Leon Panetta on Good Morning America Thursday morning. He's director of the Office of Management of Budget. Watch this, a new figure, by the way, he announces here.
So we do have a cushion here. There's about $516 billion in deficit reduction that finally has been reported out of the committees on the Senate side, which is about $16 billion above the target that the president wanted, which is about $500 billion. So they've got some room to work with it.
Cushion for what? What kind of cushion? Now this $16 billion, does that figure ring anybody's bells out there? Remember that stimulus package that didn't pass? How much was it? $16 billion. These slime balls have just decided. I'll tell you, it is amazing. They've just miraculous. The president submitted a budget of $500 billion. We think we need $516 billion. That's right. And even though they're saying this is the amount of money that's been cut, or that will be cut, or will not be spent, or whatever, believe me, this is a mechanism by where they can spend that money. But that's Leon Panetta on Thursday. Here's Leon Panetta in 1990 about that budget deal. Just another point of comparison for you.
The fact is that if you look at it at this point in time, we are now in a situation where we have adopted a budget resolution by the Congress that puts in place the outlines for the biggest deficit reduction in the history of this country, $40 billion the first year and $500 billion over 5 years. That's done.
Oh, yes.
And we are now working on a reconciliation bill that is a record reconciliation bill in terms of its deficit reduction numbers.
Well, it didn't work then, did it, Mr. Panetta? It just didn't work. These guys are saying the same things 2.5 years ago they're saying today as though they've never said them before. More and more evidence. We'll keep showing you as we get it. When we come back, we're going to talk to some rich people. We're going to talk to the people who are really hurting this country. We're going to talk to the people who need to be punished, who were privileged in the 80s. We got people on the phone who didn't pay their fair share in the 80s. Small businessmen, the backbone of the country, right after this. Don't go away.
Success in life is the result of preparation and having the right tools. To become the person you've always wanted to be, select Nordic Flex Gold. You provide the effort, and Nordic Flex Gold provides the means to your personal success. You want to develop the poise, confidence, and energy that come from a strong, toned body. And just like these people, you can have that body in just 12 weeks with Nordic Flex Gold. Some people spend a lifetime wishing for a great body. Now with Nordic Flex Gold, you can unlock your potential in as little as 12 weeks. Nordic Flex Gold features linear motion and patented isokinetic resistance, providing results fast, up to 70% faster than with rubber band machines or even free weights. Now is the time to act. Great muscle tone, 3 times faster fat loss, increased energy, as well as poise and confidence can all be yours in just 12 weeks with Nordic Flex Gold. To order or for more information, call now.
I'm Scott Krasinski, Vice President General Manager of the Peoria Chiefs. It can get pretty quiet around here sometimes, but when the Chiefs are in town, it's a different story.
Yeah, she's out of there,
Chiefs baseball, check it out for yourself.
There's something new and exciting happening at Shakey's.
On Sundays at 9 a.m., we've added delicious breakfast items to our full buffet.
We've got scrambled and eggs Benedict, sausage, French toast, corned beef hash, ham, hashed browns, breakfast pizzas, and more.
So join us for breakfast on Sundays at 9 a.m.
These special items are all added to our regular Sunday buffet. And join us during the week for our regular all-you-can-eat lunch and dinner buffet. Don't forget, senior citizens receive a 10% discount, and kids 2 to 12 eat for 40 cents per year at Shakey's.
Watching Rush Limbaugh, the television show. As I said, a phone call was cellular from Jefferson City, Missouri, state capital. It's Brad. And gather you're not too happy about all that's coming out of Washington. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct, Rush. It's
Tell me why.
Well, I'm a part owner and an operator of a small log home construction company, and quite honestly, it's extremely hard to keep the ball rolling. Even though, don't get me wrong, we're extremely busy and we've got all the work we can handle, but still, it's hard to make ends meet when you got workers' comp, you've got all the other insurance you have to uphold, and I mean, for instance, our best guy is making more money than I am, an owner. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Now,
well, but you know why that is? Let's explain that to people. I bet that happens a lot in small business. The bottom line is, when you hire somebody and agree to pay them X and they do the work, they get paid first. They eat first before you do, right?
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Now, we as a small business owner are employing a major percentage of the people who are out there that have jobs. Now, what is going to happen when Clinton gets this thing through?
Well, you tell me. You tell me, you're a small business guy. Are you afraid of it?
Yeah, you're
What's going to happen? What's going to happen to your business?
Well, I shudder to think what might happen to our business.
You might have to fire some people, I bet, right?
There's a very good possibility that
lay them off, and you're not going to be able to
lay some people off. Exactly.
You won't be able to afford to pay all of what you're going to have to pay just to hire somebody if this plan goes through.
That's a very, very, very likely scenario.
Who'd you vote for in the election?
Bush.
Do you think any of what you're saying, I just want to be honest with me, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole you, is any of what you're saying based on anything other than an accurate analysis of this man's plan as it relates to your business? Or is there maybe some lingering, gee, I didn't like this guy in the first place?
Well, to be honest with you, I really didn't like the guy in the first place, but I didn't really like Bush either. I was forced to go vote for Bush.
Well,
however,
Brad, look, we got to go. We got to take a quick break here. We can take calls for a week and get nothing but similar calls. A young guy taking on the responsibility of a small business, and he's frightened about the future of his business because of this plan. Take another call if we have time, which we will when we get back.
They say the Anita Hill effect helped elect radical feminists to Congress, Bill Clinton to the White House, and change the course of American history. But now history catches up with Anita Hill. The American Spectator has obtained a limited number of the blockbuster new book of the year, The Real Anita Hill, The Untold Story, published by the Free Press. You can purchase this shocking expose in bookstores, or get it free by subscribing to the American Spectator. Author David Brock uncovers evidence about Anita Hill that has been censored by liberals, her lifetime pattern of crying sexual harassment, her political radicalism, and most important, her likely motivation for destroying the career of Clarence Thomas. Call 1-800-332-3900 and subscribe to the American Spectator. We'll rush you a free copy of The Real Anita Hill, The Untold Story. For $34.95, you'll get 12 issues of the American Spectator and your free copy of the Anita Hill book. Call 1-800-332-3900. Our supply's limited, so first come, first serve. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-332-3900 now.
This weekend, if you're looking for betting, there's only one place to stop. Betting Liquidators in Peoria and Bloomington. Betting Liquidators has the largest selection in town at the lowest prices. Save on mattresses, day beds, bunk beds, headboards, brass beds, bed frames, and rollaway beds. Find bargain prices on name brand bedding. Convenient credit terms available. Open daily 10 to 9, Sunday 11 to 6. No one sells for less, so don't waste your time. Make one stop at Betting Liquidators for the best values in town this weekend.
Here at Velde Ford, we have a mission statement that says all dealership personnel will treat every customer as a potential lifetime purchaser, communicating a professional image that embraces honesty and concern for customer wants and needs. We are committed to making this happen, and we are going to do it by treating the customer the way they told us to. We have adopted sales and service standards to live and operate by. And remember, the one thing that will never change is my desire to sell and service Ford cars and trucks better than anyone else.
Day one in the middle of nowhere. The meals have been superb. It's a good thing they have a fitness program aboard every Royal Caribbean ship. Maybe I'll work out tonight before dinner. Maybe I won't. There was something about the streamers at our Bon Voyage party that told me this is going to be the vacation of a lifetime.
Call the AAA travel office nearest you for special Royal Caribbean Cruise Line packages.
Minutes left. I want to take another phone call. I want you to hear from the people who are going to be affected by this plan, people who employ you. This is Mike in Minneapolis. Tell me about this plan as it affects you, sir.
Well, how you doing, Rush?
Good, thank you.
Good. Well, as a small businessman in Minneapolis, 1991, 1992, we had about 50 employees, but planned a major expansion in 1993 of approximately 100 employees, which would bring us up to about 150 total.
What do you do? What is your business?
We sell office automation. It's high-end to nuclear medicine, medical departments, and general business.
Hold it. Office automation and nuclear medicine?
Right. That's exactly right.
Nuclear, the liberals know about this? You're dealing in nuclear?
Well, we're trying to keep it quiet from Hillary.
Yeah. Okay, so, thank you. So you wanted to expand. You wanted to add 100 employees. You're going to do it now?
Absolutely not. We're halfway through 93. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's a couple of different views on it. We take a look at the people that are currently out there that would be our customers. Everything that they're doing, of course, is on hold because they're unclear how the taxes and this tax package, not a deficit reduction package.
Well, let me help you. It's going to go up and you're going to pay through the roof.
Absolutely. So as a small businessman, there's only so much profit in each dollar that we take in.
Profit? You want to earn profit?
Absolutely.
What gives you the right to think you deserve a profit? You had your share of profits, pal, in the 80s. You took money out of the back pockets of the rich, or the poor. You stole from them. You don't deserve a profit. You deserve to go out of business. You're the reason this country's in the shape it's in. How dare you call here and ask for our sympathy because you're going to have to fire people? I have just given you the democratic theory of government, and we'll see you on our next show.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following. Rush Limbaugh's Wardrobe by Rochester, big and tall.
Your lips need special protection from the sun. Introducing Blistex Ultra Protection with SPF 30. This season, it's on everybody's lips.
Quit chewing tobacco with new Mint Snuff All Mint Chew. Mint Snuff is made from mint, not tobacco. Ask your grocer for Mint Snuff All Mint Chew.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Stacy Kuhn, and this book is for every thinking, open-minded American. Read it and make up your own mind, your own decision about my story.
It's an unbeatable talk radio 1-2 punch. A replay of today's Rush Limbaugh radio show, followed by the very best of the Larry King radio show. It starts at midnight every weeknight on Talk Radio 102 FM, WTAZ, 102.3 on your FM radio dial.
If
If you'd like to order a video cassette of Rush's TV show for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO. For a transcript, send $5 to Burrell's Transcripts, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039, or call 1-800-777-TEXT.